Three waterfalls, collectively known as Niagara Falls, are located at the southern end of Niagara Gorge and form the border between the Canadian province of Ontario and the American state of New York. Horseshoe Falls, which crosses the international border between the two nations, is the greatest of the three. The Canadian Falls is another name for it. Within the country are the Lesser American Falls and Bridal Veil Falls. With both islands located in New York, Bridal Veil Falls is separated from Horseshoe Falls by Goat Island and from American Falls by Luna Island. The combined falls, created by the Niagara River, which empties Lake Erie into Lake Ontario, have the highest flow rate of any North American waterfall with a vertical drop of more than 50 meters, 160 feet. More than 168,000 cubic meters, 5.9 million cubic feet, of water flow over the crest of the falls per minute during the busiest daytime tourist hours. 3. According to flow rate, Horseshoe Falls is the most potent waterfall in North America. Famous for its beauty, Niagara Falls is a significant hydroelectric power source. The guardians of the falls have struggled to balance recreational, economic, and industrial uses since the 19th century. Between the twin cities of Niagara Falls, Ontario, and Niagara Falls, New York, Niagara Falls is located 69 kilometers, 43 miles, southeast of Toronto and 27 kilometers, 17 miles, northwest of Buffalo, New York. When the Wisconsin glaciation, the previous ice age, ended, water from the newly formed Great Lakes carved a path over and through the Niagara Escarpment on its way to the Atlantic Ocean, creating Niagara Falls. Due to the presence of enormous stones at its base, the American Falls height fluctuates between 21 and 30 meters, 69 and 98 feet, whereas Horseshoe Falls is approximately 57 meters, 187 feet, tall. Horseshoe Falls, which are wider, are around 790 meters, 2,590 feet, broad, while American Falls are about 320 meters, 1,050 feet, wide. Niagara Falls' American and Canadian extremities are separated by 1,039 meters, 3,409 feet. 6,400 cubic meters, 230,000 cubic feet per second was the maximum flow measured over Horseshoe Falls. It moves at a rate of 2,400 cubic meters, 85,000 cubic feet per second on average every year. The flow normally reaches its peak in late spring or early summer since it is a direct function of the elevation of the water in Lake Erie. At least 2,800 cubic meters, 99,000 cubic feet, of water traverse the falls every second throughout the summer, with 90% of the water going over Horseshoe Falls and the remaining 20% being diverted to hydroelectric plants before continuing on to American Falls and Bridal Veil Falls. This is done by using the International Control Dam, a weir upstream of Horseshoe Falls with adjustable gates. The water flow only reaches a minimal flow of 1,400 cubic meters, 49,000 cubic feet per second at night and during the winter months when tourism is at its lowest. The 1950 Niagara Treaty governs water diversion, which is overseen by the International Niagara Board of Control. The Niagara River's erosive force is responsible for producing an estimated 60 tons/minute of dissolved salts and rock flour, very finely ground rock, which is what gives the water flowing over the falls its lush green color. About 10,000 years ago, the Wisconsin glaciation carved out the features that would eventually become Niagara Falls. The Great Lakes as we know them today were formed when the glaciers that had carved the basins left behind during the retreat of the ice sheet filled them with meltwater. See Lake Algonquin, Lake Chicago, Glacial Lake Iroquois, and Champlain Sea. In the general area where the current Welland Canal is located, scientists believe there once existed a valley called St. David's Buried Gorge that was covered by glacial drift. The upper Great Lakes drained into the Niagara River when the ice melted, which followed the Niagara Escarpment's altered topography. Over time, the river carved a gorge through the cuesta, or cliff facing north. The three main rock formations interacted with one another, causing the rocky bed to not erode uniformly. Hard, erosion-resistant limestone and dolomite from the Lockport Formation make up the Caprock Formation, Middle Silurian. The underlying materials eroded faster than that thick layer of hard stone. The Rochester Formation, which is softer, weaker, and sloped immediately below the Caprock, Lower Silurian. Although there are a few thin layers of limestone in this formation, shale makes up the majority of it. Ancient fossils are also present there. The hard caprock eventually gave way in large chunks as a result of the river undermining the soft layer that supported the hard layers over time. Numerous iterations of this technique eventually carved out the falls. The Upper Ordovician Queenston Formation, made up of shales and fine sandstones, is submerged in the river in the lower valley and concealed from view. All three formations were created in an old sea, and the variations in their personalities resulted from those conditions shifting over time. Diverse theories exist regarding the name of the falls. The New York Times used the Native American word Niagara, which means booming water, in 1925. According to Iroquoian expert Bruce Trigger, the name Niagara comes from the name given to a division of the local neutral confederacy, who are identified as the Niagara people on various French maps from the region's late 17th century. George R. Stewart claims that it derives from the Iroquois town's name, Anguiara, which means point of land divided in two. According to an Iroquois interpreter, the name was derived from Janiakari, which means noisy point or portage, in 1847. The name the Neck, pronounced Onyara, refers to the neck of territory between Lakes Erie and Ontario to Mohawks. Sam Patch, often known as the Yankee Leapster, successfully leaped from a tall tower into the canyon below the falls in October 1829. This started a lengthy tradition of daredevils attempting to jump over the falls. Englishman Captain Matthew Webb, the first person to swim the English Channel, perished in the rapids downstream from the Niagara Falls in 1883 while attempting to do so. Summertime, when Niagara Falls is a popular daytime and nighttime destination, sees the most visitors. Floodlights on the Canadian side illuminate the falls for several hours after sunset on both sides, until midnight. 20 million people were projected to arrive in 2007. By 2009, it was anticipated that this number would reach 28 million. The Maid of the Mist boat ride, which was founded in 1846 and is named after a legendary figure in Angiara Indian mythology, is the most well-known and oldest tourist attraction near Niagara Falls. It takes visitors into the rapids just below the falls. The Maid of the Mist and Hornblower Cruises, which used to be the Maid of the Mist until 2014, run their cruise ships off of boat docks on each side of the Niagara Falls. From the American side, pathways along Prospect Point Park, which also has the Prospect Point Observation Tower and a boat pier for the Maid of the Mist, provide views of American Falls. Goat Island, which is reachable by foot traffic and vehicle traffic through a bridge above American Falls, provides additional views of the falls. The Cave of the Winds is reachable from Goat Island by elevator and takes hikers to a location beneath Bridal Veil Falls. The Three Sisters Islands, the Power Portal, a statue of Nikola Tesla, whose patents for the AC induction motor and other devices for AC power transmission helped make the harnessing of the falls possible, and a walking path that provides views of the rapids, the Niagara River, the gorge, and all of the falls are also located on Goat Island. The majority of these sites are located at Niagara Falls State Park. According to the New York Times, helicopter tours over the falls are still in demand a year after a serious crash, and this is true for both the American and Canadian sides. The as many as 108-minute rides each day are difficult to regulate. Two countries and various government agencies would need to coordinate. The New York Times had long ago described trying to tour the falls as bent on suicide, and despite a number of fatal crashes. The availability of these flights dates back to the early 1960s. The Whirlpool Aerocar is a cable car that transports passengers over the Niagara Whirlpool on the Canadian side. It was constructed in 1916 based on a design by Spanish engineer Leonardo Torres y Quevedo. Near the base of the Horseshoe Falls on the Canadian side, there is an observation platform and a network of tunnels that make up the journey behind the falls. The highest vantage point for viewing the falls is from the Skylon Tower observation deck, which also provides views of Toronto in the other direction. The Tower Hotel, formerly known as the Seagram's Tower until being renamed the Heritage Tower, the Royal Inn Tower, the Royal Centre Tower, the Panasonic Tower, the Minolta Tower, and most recently the Konica Minolta Tower are among the buildings in the complex. That was for today. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel.